Enjoying the podcast? Subscribe on patreon.com/RM podcast or on Twitch to gain exclusive access to RM podcast benefits.
All right, and so we're back, and we're gonna talk about this whole ArenaNet deal with the Guild Wars 2. This is going more out of, I guess, politics and into gaming. We get under basically every kind of it's entertainment, news, commentary on all of it. So without further ado, I'm gonna let Kata get more into this, but I'm gonna pull up the article over here. Let's talk more about this whole ArenaNet folded like a cheap card table. Let's talk about Jessica Price, who was fired on, what was it, July 9th? Or no, it was the
The
week
article I'm
before
looking
July
at
9th.
doesn't.
It was the week before July 9th.
It was July 3rd when she posted the tweets, but I don't know when the actual firing took place.
I am outraged because of the game, Bojangle. I'm very outraged because of this, but so let's see. Why don't you talk about the whole big issue that got this started? Because I'm
Okay, well, you said you've got the Polygon article open, one of
yes,
many, I'm sure,
yeah.
and I have one by Kotaku open, and
what a fantastic source.
well, I chose it because the headline seems to be leading the reader in a certain direction, and
Oh,
I kind of wanted
yeah.
to
We
point
need
that
to
out
talk
too.
about that. Yeah, yeah.
Well, it relates to the other stories. The headline is Guild Wars 2 writers fired for calling out fan on Twitter. Now, of course, when you hear that, it's kind of a poisoning the well sort of thing. You go into it thinking, what did this horrible person on Twitter do that he got called out for? Well, according to this, Jessica Price, who was a developer for ArenaNet working on the Guild Wars 2 game, was speaking on Twitter. She put a tweet out talking about, let's see, the challenges of creating a personality for an MMO player character and how ArenaNet's narrative team approaches things internally. So that was the topic of her discussion. What she said was, if ArenaNet gave the player too much personality, the player character too much personality, it might clash with players' understanding of who their character is. So basically, you can't give too many options because the character has to be a certain character within the game, and eventually those options have to lead back to the story, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
anyway, they say here, in response, a fan and YouTuber going by Derour spoke up. Now, I'm going to take a quick break here and point out that Derour apparently is well enough known to the community and to the developers that he has an NPC in the game named after him. He's not just some random guy. He's been a part of the community, an active part of the community. But it says here that in response to her comment, he said that while he appreciated the quote insightful thread, he disagreed with her assessment of the situation. He said he felt like the problem could be addressed with more dialogue options that let players choose how to express themselves. Now, that's fairly accurate, but I did see the original tweets, and I should point out, as far as I know, most of them have been deleted. So if you guys want to comb through an archive and try to find them, or look up articles that screen grab them, you still can, but it would take considerable legwork, and I'm pulling some of this from memory. But I do remember that, yes, he did say he appreciated the insightful thread, and that but that he disagreed slightly. He even emphasized the word slightly with an asterisk on either side. And I mean, he made it perfectly clear. He has even in previous videos complimented Price, talking about how wonderful she is at her job. And, he seems like a good guy from what I've seen in tweets and videos. However, Price felt that he overstepped his bounds and responded with, now this is her initial response to his, I disagree slightly, I think they could have more options. She responded with, today in being a female game dev, allow me, a person who does not work with you, to explain to you how to do your job. That was the initial tweet. She claims it was the straw that broke the camel's back moment because so many people have tried to tell her I think she actually did use the word mansplain at some point. And it was just too much. This extremely polite person commenting that he felt differently. That was too much for her. She made other comments along the lines of the next person who tries to mansplain to me how to do my job is getting auto-blocked. And eventually, a colleague of hers, let's see, Peter Fries, I think is how you pronounce that. He joined in as well. And, of course, backing her. And, again, much of his comments have been lost in the mix. But let me see if I can find...
So are the fans supporting her that she's been fired now, or are they pretty mad that they lost a dev in this game? It seems
some of them
like
are, some of them aren't. What happened is it blew up into not even an argument, because I don't think the original guy was trying to argue against them. I think he even apologized. Like, I'm sorry I upset you, and they continued lecturing him on don't tell us how to do our jobs. They lectured him to the point that other people joined in. One of the first comments I saw was quite literally, what the fuck is wrong with you two? He was just asking a question or just sharing his opinion. And I think that's when Peter Fry said something about, yes, but she didn't ask for his opinion. And she even said something about how, here in our private space, we don't feel like we should have to explain ourselves. Now, let me say again, this was on Twitter. This was an open discussion on Twitter.
Yeah, and they've got people commenting, I bet,
space.
Replying, yeah.
Right.
People furious on both sides of the aisle, what's happening, everyone's got their own opinion on it. And so basically, a tweet is what got her fired.
Yeah, well, a series of tweets, but yes, a series of tweets where she told off a guy that is respected in the community because he dared to have a different opinion and voice it.
I am so sick
politely.
Of that crap. Like, I'm just
he
so
voiced
sick
it
of
very
people.
politely.
I am so sick of people getting fired over tweets. Like, you even see people now trying to dredge up things from like, oh, look what this person tweeted whenever Twitter first came out, or look at this tweet from 2012 that this person said. It's like, we need to fire them immediately. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Wasn't that the whole thing between Ben Shapiro and or the Guardians of the Galaxy director?
I don't think Shapiro was involved in that, but James Gunn, yeah.
James Gunn, there you go.
Yeah, people went through... It was
but Ben Shapiro was saying it's not right to do that. Even
they went back through like 12 years of his tweets and combed through it to find anything offensive.
Yeah,
Which one of us hasn't said something offensive in the last 12 years?
Well, and why? And I believe he was 17 whenever he tweeted some of that
Sounds
stuff.
about right.
I mean, come on. So.
No, I agree.
It's the dumbest shit.
It is interesting you say that, because let me be clear. I firmly disagree with how Jessica Price and, was it Peter Fries? I firmly disagree with how they behaved. I don't think they treated the fan well. And I kind of even like that the company stood up for the consumer base, stood up for their fans, stood up for the people that drive the game. But I'll also agree, firing them over it might have been a little harsh. I mean, that sort of was...
well, I wonder how the company... Yeah, and I wonder how the investors, if they have any, and, that whole game's probably going to be either canned or Nobody's going to support them anymore. I know gamers are probably really ticked off, and they're probably not going to even support it. So,
It's kind of torn right now because there are some gamers that okay, it falls into three groups as far as I can tell. One that definitely supports the decision, one that thinks it was too harsh, and the trolls. There are always trolls, and I can't believe how many people work in the gaming industry, work on the internet, have, a job where they, well, do podcasts and things like that, and they don't understand how culture
such
works. They don't
thin,
understand that,
such thin skin. Yeah, I mean, it's just
yeah, but
you
they also
work
don't
on the
understand. Okay,
internet, it's
one of the
full of
things
trolls.
one of the things that happened here is they got fired and a bunch of people got on Reddit, I think, and started posting about how, you hear that, guys? If we complain enough, we can get anyone fired. I
Well,
assume while rubbing their hands
well,
together and laughing maniacally.
that's the whole
But
mob mentality. Justin just said simple suspensions or fines aren't enough for people anymore. I seem to recall ESPN trying to find someone. I can't remember. It was a couple years back. They fined them, suspended them, and it's basically if you get
mhm,
suspended now, within a couple of days of your suspension, you're fired because the outrage. We have to get them fired. We don't want to see them back.
mhm.
So
I wonder how much
stupid.
of that is driven by troll culture, though, because, I was saying, like, on Reddit, all these people talking about we can take anyone down. You don't think those are really fans of the game saying that? Like, maybe a few of them, but for the most part, yeah, you're watching trolls in action. They would have said that about anyone and anything that they thought they could dig in and get them. That's the whole
Mm-hmm.
point of being a troll is you're trying to annoy people, you're trying to mess with them. And I'm not saying it's okay either. I just don't want them to confuse that with the genuine gaming community, the genuine fans that are, like I said, in some cases supportive of this and in some cases not. What I'm seeing a lot of is they definitely agree that some punishment was in order, but firing was a little bit harsh.
Yeah,
And yeah, I agree with that.
but
Totally.
it's always pushed too far. Like it's always gone too far now. There's no in between. There's no minor punishment. It's like Justin said. There's no simple suspensions or fines. It's
It's
just
all or
they're not
nothing.
gonna do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to touch into that because I'm a big fan of video games. If people didn't know, and so is Kata,
Same.
and so
That's really about all there is to say about it as far as I know.
yeah, we'll try to
If there's
follow
other
up.
updates,
See,
I'll.
I want to see if the
Yeah.
game is made. We'll definitely follow up with that to see if it actually gets made and released, despite all of
As
this.
far as I know,
So
it may have already been released. I will admit, as much as I love games, I don't follow Guild Wars.
I
I used to
don't
have a
either.
girlfriend that did, but I'm not as familiar with MMORPGs as I am first-person
Mm.
shooters and things like that. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say about that
Um,
one.
let's see. Let's move into the next topic here. The and I just love this topic.